we have first CEO and President of Red Renaissance, Ms. Kim Klasick, with us tonight, and we are so grateful that she could join us. First, we have the Pledge of Allegiance to get us all started. If everyone can stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to introduce Ms. Kim Klasick. Thank you. This month. Overall, this year in 2022, 166 murders, 320 non-fatal shootings, and only 585,000 people in our population. So that just tells you how dangerous it is. And it's unfortunate, but I do believe that we can get things back. I do believe that if we fight hard enough, we can make sure that more Republicans take office. Now, I do talk a lot about Republicans, Democrats, and independents, but guess what? Independents and Democrats, in my view, aren't really our challengers. Do you guys see what I'm saying? I think there are more moderate Democrats out there that are starting to see what we see. I think the crazies are the progressives. And those are the ones that we have to fight against. But I do think we can get a lot of moderate Democrats and independents on board with us. And I think this will be the year to persuade them. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but I do a lot of media these days, right? I do Fox News, I do One America, I do Newsfacts, and I actually have a radio show now on WBAL. Does anybody listen to WBAL News Radio? Yes? All right, but you can get it on the radio news app anytime, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's really interesting because I'm on in the greater Baltimore area, and I have people that call the show, and they'll say, Kim, you know what? I actually hated your guts when you ran for office here in Baltimore City. And I have people that said, I listened to your show because I wanted to call in and curse you out. And I'm like, wow, that's so sweet of you. You sound like a great person. But then they'll call in and they said, but now that I really listen to you, you're speaking common sense. You're talking about the education system, which we know has failed our kids time and time again. You're talking about the crime and violence, which we see in our own neighborhoods. You're talking about the fact that we need more of a police presence, even though we have people in office trying to defund the police. Did you know that we're down 500 officers on patrol in Baltimore City? 500 officers. We can't hardly recruit any, and we can't retain them. I wonder why. These are all self-inflicted wounds, right? We created this mess. Well, the Democrat Party with those great progressives created this mess. But now we're going to clean it up. That's usually what we do, right? As Republicans, we clean it up. We clean it up. Now, as I was saying, I'm now in media, and I always wondered, because in the morning you have your Monday morning meetings where you're talking about what you're going to talk about for the day. Did you ever wonder what a Monday morning meeting would be like at CNN or MSNBC? I started thinking about this, and I was like, you know what? Let's imagine this together. Let's imagine we're a fly on the wall at CNN. Let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. So today we're going to focus truth. Just so we get started, my pronouns are they, them, her, she, his. And I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So President Biden called, and he said that we are going to have a second pandemic by August 19th. So get ready, start telling people about social distancing, tell them about masks, even though they don't work. Just let them know about it, because by October we'll be back in the lockdowns, and then they'll have to vote by mail in November. Okay, so we're gonna start pushing this story. Also, there seems to be some rumors about the fall that Biden had on his bicycle in Delaware. We want to get the truth out there. That was actually President Biden's stunt double. That was not President Biden at all. Just so you know, President Biden right now, he's on the set of Top Gun 4 with Tom Cruise. And that's why he's been wearing the aviator glasses. He's playing Tom Cruise's younger twin. Okay, so make sure you get that truth out there. We all need to get it out there, okay? Because people have been talking about this. Now, we're going to talk about personal assignments. Jessica, is Jessica here today? Jessica, yes, Jessica. So I know you've been getting emails about the housing market, and because of that, we're sending you to the January 6th committee hearing. Okay? You're gonna do live coverage. You're gonna love it, okay? All right, Jessica. Atta girl. Katie, where's Katie? Katie, yes. People have been asking about CRT still in schools. Okay, well, good. So we're gonna send you to talk about monkeypox. Okay? You gotta let people know that it's both deadly and racist. Emphasis on the racist, okay? The deadly part really doesn't matter, okay? Also, we've got Holly. Holly, where's Holly? Holly? You're gonna be talking about baby formula shortage and shortage on feminine products? Yeah, no, not really. We're gonna send you to Ukraine, not to cover the war. Apparently Ben Stiller is doing a romantic comedy. You're gonna be covering that. You can thank me later. All right, Chris, where's Chris? Chris, yes, they're talking to you about rising gas prices. No, that's not what we're gonna focus on. You're gonna be going to the drag queen story time at the local library, okay? Feel free to take an outfit. They're down a couple drag queens. And then last but not least, Jamal. This brought tears to my eyes, actually. Jamal the janitor. Where's Jamal? Jamal, come on up here. So because Jamal is both black and gay, he has now been promoted to the morning anchor. Put that broom down, Jamal. Come on up here. I'm just kidding, obviously. But that's how I feel things are going. You know, nowadays, whatever we see with our own eyes, a lot of very progressive liberals tell us something completely different, even though we see it ourselves. Did you know right now, on average, an American family spends $460 a month more because of the inflation, because of the rise in gas prices? I mean, you just want to kill Putin, don't you? How dare he do this to us? But that's where we are in this country. When we want to focus on kitchen table topics. We want to talk about, doing something about the crime and violence, the education system. I love school choice. That's something that I was pushing when I was running for office in Baltimore. We have a port city that we don't even utilize. Remember when we were relying on other countries for PPE during the pandemic? We could have brought that billion-dollar medical equipment industry right here to Maryland. Think about all the jobs. What about making Baltimore a manufacturing powerhouse like before? That would be great, right? I think these are things that we all want, no matter which party you belong to. Well, except the progressives. They are really bad at math, and it just doesn't click. They don't know. They just don't know. But I know that many Americans, like you and I, we want these things. And so when I think about people like Steny Hoyer, that have been in office for decades, I believe Steny Hoyer probably once was a very moderate Democrat, but he's allowed the Progressive Party to take control of his party. And they have taken our country downhill. And so people like Steny Hoyer cannot be reelected, because we're just going to continue. And so we have to make sure we get people like Chris Palombi. Do you know why Chris is so great? Chris Palombi. We have a heck of a task in front of us. Just so you guys know, I did start a PAC called Red Renaissance. And what we do is we support candidates like Chris. We have 23 across the country. We just had Terry Duncombe. He just won his primary in Virginia's 3rd District on Tuesday. And we have others that have been winning. We've got Sandy Smith in North Carolina. We've got 3 candidates in New Jersey. There are a lot of people that are stepping up to the plate that have never run for office before. And for me, those are the best people. We need people that don't have lobbyists in their back pockets. We need people that don't have relationships with Ukraine or China. That doesn't make any sense for us here in America. We need people that understand that a wide open southern border just doesn't work. There are a lot of people that come to this country and we welcome them. But those that come here legally, they have a better outcome for them and their families. They're not hiding in fear of deportation. And they're not getting low wages because they have to hide under the table. That's what we want. We want the country we can recognize once again. I guess at the end of the day, I like to make America great again. What about you? Well, I know you guys want to hear Chris, but I want to thank you so much for your time. I know we had a lot of people that supported our race in this room. Just so you know, we are going to run again in 2024. Yeah. Some things did go our way, so we'll make sure that we crunch those numbers. We don't want to run just hard, we want to run hard and smart. Because at the end of the day, we want to win, right? Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Kim. It is such a pleasure to have you, and I'm sure I can speak for everyone in this room in saying that Kim is such an amazing speaker, and we are so blessed to have her come down to Southern Maryland to speak to us all today. So next up is Chris Palombi, and I can personally say that I've seen everything that Kim said. Kim, and what she said is that Chris is a team player, he's a county man, and he is for us all. I went to school at St. Mary's Riken, and I had the pleasure of interacting with Chris through the hockey team, and although I wasn't playing because the girls' team wasn't a thing then, and probably wouldn't have done as well on the team. Chris allowed me to come and show my passion for hockey through doing the statistics and traveling with the team, and I have seen his dedication and his desire to help the community, and I think that he would do an even better job, as we all believe, in Congress. So, with that being said, Chris Palombi.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming today. I'm glad the rain stopped. It was brutal this morning, driving in this morning. But again, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for our sponsors for helping us out too for this event. Thank you for Kim for coming to speak. And I do want to let everybody know too, real quick, we're going to have Congressman Byron Donalds joining us here in a little bit. They had a vote change late this afternoon to where they have a vote at 7 o'clock. So unfortunately, he's unable to make it in person. But about 7:30, he's going to join us via Zoom. So he'll join us live from Capitol Hill. So, unfortunately not going to be able to make it. But again, thank you all again for the opportunity of being here. Like as Kim said and Sarah said, just growing up in this district, I've been here since the age of 3. I grew up on a big family farm, about 37 acres in Calvert County. And it was family galore. So it was my mother's house, my grandfather's house, my aunt's house, my uncle's house, my other uncle's house, my other uncle, my aunt lived down the road. We're very close-knit family. And that was one thing when I was young. I would always go over to my grandfather's house and have coffee with him in the morning. Yes, even as a young kid, he'd give me a decaf, making sure, so I'm not running around too much. But it was the importance of faith, family, and freedom that was instilled upon us with the moral fabric of our being. And like I told you all before we had the event last year, a couple years ago, my grandfather was one that, if anything went wrong, he didn't want to go ask for help. He wanted to take it apart and figure out how to fix things and then make it better than it was before. And I think that's the challenge that we're going to face right now with our country, as you all know right now. Our country is at such a crossroad that whatever we're going to do here in 2022, this red wave that's coming, we're going to have a lot of issues we're going to have to fix and correct. And I'm looking forward to doing that. But to me, America, what I love about it, and I ran before in 2020, didn't win. But what I love about this country is the land of opportunities, of second chances to learn and grow and come back stronger than you were before. And nothing in life is easy. You're always going to have your challenges. And so, for example, when I was younger, had a situation where, father left. But my mother stayed put and was phenomenal with me and my 3 sisters. My mom's here today too, by the way, so if she wants to stay up real quick. We went through a struggle, and she did everything she could to sacrifice for my sister, our family, my 3 sisters. She went through food stamps, she went through welfare. I mean, even remember we came down to the old Shoppers Warehouse down where the vacation is in Lexington Park. We would shop there, and the first time she did food stamps, she hated it. She didn't like having the government take care of her. She wanted to fend for herself and do for herself, and she did. And so we used that system, as my mother did. She worked hard to making sure that she did everything she could to make sure me and my sisters had our food on the table. We stayed participating in sports. We stayed interacting with our friends, and we did well in school. And it's because of that work ethic that she had, to utilize this system to uplift you back into society. The moment that she got off of it, she got her associate's degree, got a job, got off as quick as possible. But it taught us and my siblings at a young age what work and dedication and commitment, again, faith, family, freedom, what those opportunities can do for you to make anybody prosperous. And so, Mom, I thank you so much for everything. But again, I'm going back to that faith, family, freedom, because I think that's what it's all about, the foundation of our country. And for me, that's what it is. And hockey. But that as well, so even coaching hockey a couple years ago, it blew my mind away. I've been coaching ice hockey since 2009. I've been doing it while I was working at Capitol Police and now working at the school. But when we had, I've been coaching the guys team for many years, we had a couple girls come out and play. But then we had an opportunity where we had 11, 12 girls come to my office and say, hey, do y'all want to be managers? I said, we have a team, do you all want to play? They never skated before. So I said, all right, well, let me make some calls, let me make some contacts, let's work something out, because I think it'd be great to get you all to try and play. And so I did a contact my buddy at Washington Capitol, said, hey, I got a group of girls. I know you guys have free gear programs for 9 and under, anything you all have. And he said, you know what? We have a warehouse. We have a partnership up in Rockville, leveling the playing field. So I partnered with them, drove up there, stacked the back of my wife's Explorer to the brim with hockey gear, stinky hockey gear. Well, it's clean though, but driving down the road, and it was like a big trade-off with everybody getting free gear. It was like, Oprah, you get free hockey gear, you get free hockey gear. But everybody was nervous. All the girls on the team were nervous because only 2 of them played before. One of them played competitively, and the other 21 never ice skated at all. So we get on the ice the very first day. And just knowing the challenges, knowing the nervousness, being boundless, coming outside of your comfort zone, doing something new. That's the risk in life that we take to challenge ourselves and become something more than we think we ever could have been. And it's that freedom to do that. So the very first thing, I said, all right, first drill, we're going to fall. And they looked at me like, is he serious? Yeah. Because you're going to see you're going to be able to bounce right back up and stay at it. We're all going to fall together. And I fell right there with them. We had good laughs. They all got right back up, and they realized, hey, we got it out under our system. We're done. We fell. We're all going to fall. We're going to happen again. But what's most important is how you're willing to bounce back through adversity and take it on those challenging times. And they did that. And that's kind of motivated me even more to say, you know what? Let's be a change in our communities. Not just the hockey community and teaching and coaching and all that stuff too. But that's kind of helped propel me to make that decision in 2020 to run. Was to be that change, not just sit on the sideline and just get upset with everything you see on the TV and everything on the news and everything Anywhere is doing, but to be the change, be the voice, listen to everybody, and be the change on Capitol Hill. But again, if it wasn't for that freedom for them that they had, for the opportunities to take those risks, it empowered them. And now we have 4 girls playing college hockey. We have a varsity and a JV team now, and they went back-to-back championships. Coach of the year twice. Sorry, guys. But it's empowering the people to take the risk, to take the inherent risk, to find who they are and grow and blossom from there. And for me, to me, I personally fear for what's going to happen in the future with their children. Like, I have 3 kids of my own, and you see everything that's going on through the country the past 2 years. Everything seems to be flipped on its head, like Im said. And to me, right now that American dream is dying because of everything that's going on with Biden, Build Back Better agenda, and everything that Senator Horner supporting with that too. You see it crumbling. I mean, they want more government. They want more centralized control to determine how we can live, what we can produce, what we can spend, what we can and can't say. I mean, you saw what they tried pushing about a month or 2 ago with the Disinformation Governing Board. No government should be able to tell you what to think, how to think, what to say, what you can do. That's not freedom. But yet we have that permeating within our federal government right now that is overreaching their bounds at the state and local levels as well. And we need good people, good fighters like myself and many others that are running as well to be there to be the voice for you all, to push back and say, no, we've had enough of overreaching government, and we're going to put the we the people first instead of we the government, as Biden said. But again, this is the same administration that's been abusing their powers, that they pushed to lock up parents. They left our military straight in Afghanistan. They're leaving the borders wide open right now. We have a fentanyl crisis right now. More people have died of fentanyl than anything else. But they don't want to come down hard against the big pharmaceuticals or even close the border. A good friend of mine, Jorge Ventura, has been documenting everything down at the southern border recently. And he was down there a couple nights ago, and 3 o'clock in the morning, he's interviewing and asking people who are coming through. And it's not just people coming from South America. They're from India, they're from Russia, they're from China, they're from many different parts of the world coming right into our country, unvetted, unchecked, and then being flown right into our cities. And it's emboldened human trafficking as well, unfortunately. And then, of course, too, if you all remember, and thankfully, Supreme Court voted 9-0 against it, though, but the Biden administration came out a couple months after he was inaugurated, saying that they wanted to have police to take away people's due process, to go into people's home and take their guns. But luckily, the Supreme Court voted 9-0 against that to uphold our Second Amendment rights, and thankfully they voted today 6-3 to further uphold our Second Amendment rights and say that the law can be. But they're going to continue to try on Capitol Hill as they are right now with the gun control measures. And I think it's absolutely wrong what they're trying to do, take away our Second Amendment rights. But again, going back to Senator Horner, he's been pushing everything with the Build Back Better agenda. And then just last week he came out and said that, it's time for government to fight against inflation. I'm going to put a bill and we're going to fight inflation. Where have you been the past 40 years, Steady? During his time, the national debt went from just under $1 trillion to over $30 trillion now. The gross domestic product ratio was 36% when he first took office in 1981. Now it's 129%. And it's getting worse because he has a tax spend initiative that he has. He doesn't know how to control spending. And that bill that they passed last week where they said they're going to fight inflation, do you know what they did? They spent $70 million to go towards a new governing body that's going to determine and make sure that the poultry and everything is sustainable. And meanwhile, he said that he's doing this to promote the free market. Promoting the free market while creating another government entity to have oversight on how the market's run. That's not the free market. But meanwhile, what did he do 2 months ago? The same guy said he wants to fight inflation. He voted for an omnibus bill where he injected in there and even touted about it, saying that they are giving their congressional offices and staff a 21% increase in their allowances. Did you all get a 21% cut for your small businesses or to your paycheck? No. They just padded themselves to cover themselves during inflation. There's no revenue coming back from that. But now he wants to take inflation seriously, but everything he's voted for is done completely against that. So, sorry to say, Senate, but I don't trust you there. Your track record shows completely differently. And he also blamed Putin, that's the reason for the tax hike. This is the same man who's also voted against the Hyde Amendment. He wants to have your taxpaying dollars to go towards abortions, not just here in the United States, but also allowed to go international to other countries abroad. And people across the board, even Democrats, disagree with that. They don't want their tax dollars being spent on abortions. But again, that's the issue that we have right now, is we have this Build Back Better agenda, we have everything that the Biden administration is doing, and Poyer, what he's doing is supporting that as well. And we can't afford another 2 years of that. And to me, he's not serving we the people anymore. We need somebody there who's going to stand up for us. And to me, serving the country is a duty, not a reward. And we have too many career politicians that have been reaping off the backs of their constituents for way too long. And that's going to end here in 2022. So, as I said, the American dream, it seems like it's dying right now, but it's not dead. And that's why it's up to us, that all of us come together, us running for office, us being volunteers, us in our communities. The rising tide raises all ships, right? But we need everybody on board to help out with this. And making sure that we're having liberty-loving, red, white, and blue patriots elected in office here in 2022. And there's a lot to be optimistic about. As troubling as everything seems to be right now, there's a lot to be optimistic about. So, for example, Kim, we were talking about redistricting a little bit before. Now, the new district, the way they redistrict, it gives us a 14% swing in our favor. So we have a lot to work on. We went from a 74% registered Democrat district down to 60 when it comes to likely voters. And on top of that, state loses about 6 points every midterm. And I've been out and about nonstop ever since hockey season ended and the turn of election, engaging people and talking to people. And about a month ago, I was in Bowie. They had a food-wide music festival. And I saw people in Bowie wearing Build Back Broke t-shirts. And I'm sitting there going, what world did I walk into? This is incredible. People are waking up. And I asked them, I said, hey, can I ask you guys about this? Like, hey, what do you think about the Biden agenda? And they're like, I'm done with it. And I had one gentleman tell me specifically, he said, I will never vote down ballot Democrat again because of what the Biden administration is doing. And his reasoning for it, I said, well, can I ask you when did your awakening occur? When did it happen? He said when Joe Biden, the Biden administration came out and said they wanted to give $395,000 per family, a legal immigrant family, for hardship for crossing over the border. He said, that's when they lost me. Because what are they doing for my community? What are they doing for our schools? What are they doing for our police to help them out to make sure that we're safe and secure and be able to be prosperous on our own? Nothing. Everything he said he's been completely against. So that's what I've been doing, is going around and uniting everybody under the banner of liberty. And I think that's very important for all of us to go out there and talk to our neighbors, regardless of political affiliations. I think right now, it's not so much what's left versus right, Democrat versus Republican. It's those who want more control over you and your life versus those who want to be left alone and live a peaceful life and have liberty and freedom. And every time, and again, share this, everybody share this. Every time I went door knocking in 2020, I knew I had to go and pull people over in Prince George's County and Charles County and Democrats in general. And I would knock on the door. I'm Chris Palombi, running for Congress. So can I ask you a question? Do you trust the federal government? No. That's what they said too. And it's right then and there, it created that perfect platform where they didn't look at a letter next to my name. They looked at somebody else right off the bat that we agreed upon something. So I said, you know what? We found something. We're going to grow off this friendship. I'm going to plant that seed. I'm going to water it. I'm going to see it grow. And we're going to keep growing from this as well. And now we get some pushback from other questions like social justice initiatives, like, hey, what do you do for this? What do you do for us? What do you do for this group, for that group? And I said, well, it says right there in the Bill of Rights that everybody, regardless of race, religion, or creed, has the inalienable rights to liberty and the pursuit of happiness. And I would ask them, I said, well, who's the biggest minority in the world? Anyone want to take a guess? I heard me, as basically as the individual. You cannot get any more inclusive than that. And you can't. And I had a friend of mine who was very progressive, and he said, that's the most progressive thing I ever heard. It's like, hey, you think? But again, it's humanizing these conversations, bringing it back to that level. Respecting everybody's liberty, and that's the way to go through it. So, again, 2022 is going to be the year that we're going to have that red wave. Like I said, it's going to be up to everybody to jump on board, to help each other out, talk to your neighbors, share on social media, everything you can. Even if it's a 1 hour a week that you can dedicate to helping with phone calls, door knocking, whatever you can do, can make a huge difference. And if you can pull another friend or two with you too, they can pull another, we're going to have that red wave. It's going to be bigger than anything else. And it's going to be bigger than what 1994 was, when we saw the new American contract with Newt Gingrich that came through in the House, and we're going to see that come through. And we're going to do what they did and even more. So what did Newt Gingrich do when he came to office in 1994? What was the thing that they did in office? Do you remember? Contract for America, absolutely. And what was one of the first things that they did that hasn't happened since? they balance the budget, which that is something that greatly needs to happen right now. So I'm going to go up there and work with many others, like the great friend Congressman Byron Donalds, making sure that we are passing clean bills, single item issue bills, balancing the budget. I'd love to have a balanced budget in the year. And most importantly, we also need to make sure that we're investing in America, that we're unleashing America's potential with our workforce and the people that we have here, bringing those jobs back, those manufacturing jobs back here, incentivizing tax incentives for the businesses back to our inner cities, to get those jobs back in Baltimore and Chicago and many other areas, to help build them up. In rural America too, we can't let alone, I know Indian Head's another example. We're going to find out here soon the National Defense Authorization Act bill that they're working on next month, where we're going to find what's going to happen with Indian Head soon. We need to make sure that we're still investing in those communities too. And we need to restore the supply chain. We need to become energy independent once again. And we're going to do that by investing here locally. Like I grew up 5 miles away from a nuclear power plant. And nuclear energy is so efficient, it's 80 times more efficient than anything else. We're going to take a look at the Green New Deal. They didn't even talk about nuclear energy. But it's net zero emissions. It's carbon free. But they don't want to discuss that. But what it can do, we're going to take a quick moment here real quick. I'm going to take a quick pause. I'll jump back into it. We have Congressman Byron Donalds.
Everybody, I'm really sorry I couldn't make it, down into Maryland. The Speaker Pelosi, like she's prone to do, likes to call votes at the last minute. And unfortunately, that stopped me from being with you guys in person tonight. But that doesn't mean that I couldn't at least be with you virtually. Obviously, in a post-COVID world, we all know how to do this Zoom thing. And so even though I'm probably sick of boxes like you guys are, I want to just be back in person with everybody. I wanted to make sure that I was at least present for the event. First of all, to my good friend Kim Klasik. Kim, I know you're there. I know we're going to talk soon, and thank you for all the work that you've done with Red Renaissance, supporting candidates all across the country, helping them to just really, get off the ground, get their feet wet in the political process. You guys know, if you're in this room, you know how crazy Washington, D.C. is. And we're just not even really tackling the issues that are really hurting the American people. Whether you want to talk about inflation, gas prices, the actual real fact that I think we're going to be in a recession officially in about a couple of weeks when the next GDP report comes out. What's happening at our southern border, I've been there 4 times. If you want to talk about fentanyl in our communities, what's going on with children in the classroom, the disaster that was Afghanistan, and even what's going on now in Ukraine, the one constant has been just terrible policy from the other side of the aisle, unfortunately led by Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer. And so in this race, what we have, and Chris is somebody who we believe can actually get the job done, can help actually take this seat back from Steny Hoyer finally, and actually bring some sense to the 5th Congressional District of Maryland. I've been all over the country, and the one thing I'll tell you is that voters just want Washington to make sense. They want our economy to just make sense for everybody. People just want a shot to just live their lives and build their dreams, whatever that might be. But I'll tell you right now, what's happening here on Capitol Hill, it's just not possible. It's very, very difficult with the way that, this administration and the Democrats are running the place. If you talk to venture capitalists, if you talk to business owners, even Ken Langone, he founded Home Depot. If you talk to him, he will tell you he couldn't build Home Depot today, not with the way the federal government operates. So it's not just about taking back the House. It's not just about Republicans beating Democrats. It's about getting America back to that engine of opportunity where anybody with the ideas or the innovation or just the hard work and the grit can create something phenomenal in our country. And in that process, actually helps so many other families achieve the American dream. We don't subscribe in our party to rich versus poor or white versus black. We're Americans. We think that when we work together as a country, when everybody's pulling in the same direction, and when our government gets out of the way of people chasing their God-given dreams and using their God-given talents, to really pursue happiness. When that happens, it's better for the country, it's better for everybody, and we have the more perfect union that everybody seems to always want to talk about. So I'll tell you real quick, in Chris, what you have is a candidate who can actually get the job done. I met Chris, geez, Chris, how long did we meet? A year ago now? And I got to tell you, he just, first of all, Chris wouldn't even let me get out the door without saying hello. Like, he was tenacious, he was determined, and he's always had a game plan of how to be successful in the 5th Congressional District. And that's something that just spoke to me. It's like, here's a guy passionate about the country, just wants things to work right. But he didn't want to just sit on the sidelines and talk to TV screens and yell at his friends about what's wrong with the country. He really wanted to get involved and get his feet wet and do something about it. And this is a tall task, make no mistake about it. But I will tell you that everybody, no matter what part of the country you live in, they are not happy with what they see. And it takes candidates like Chris to begin to get this country back on the right track. So I'm just happy to be here in support of him and his efforts. I know you guys got a primary coming up really soon. A lot of Republicans are still going through them. I'm going through them too. But I think Chris will do a phenomenal job representing you guys in the November elections and then working hard to get this seat back or getting this seat to Republican hands. I know the seat we're talking about. Last thing I'll say is, don't be afraid of talking to Democrat voters. Don't be afraid of it, not in this climate. I have cousins, I have family members who, they want Donald Trump back. And my family members are not Republicans, but they know when America's working right and when it's not. I was actually just talking with our new colleague up here, Myra Flores. Myra and I sat down and talked yesterday. And Texas 34, down in that part of Texas, has been Democrat for 100 years. But the voters down in South Texas are tired of the same old talking points from the Democrats. They're tired of being being gaslit by the radical left. They want something different too. They want an America that's going to work as well. And I would imagine the 5th Congressional District of Maryland, you got people who are frustrated, just like the people of Virginia were frustrated last fall. So my only advice to you now is go do the hard work, stand together with Chris, work hard in the streets, knock on those doors, and talk to those Democrat voters who have become just as disenchanted as Republican voters are. And if we do that hard work, you'd be surprised about the success we can all achieve together. So with that, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm sorry I couldn't make it over to you, but I'm with you in spirit. Go work hard and go win the 5th Congressional District.
You had a lower there so my short self can hit the buttons. Again, thank you for Congressman Donalds for joining in. And just to build off what you said too, is Congressman Donalds, as you said, just give you a quick little backdrop, and I'll wrap it up here real quick. I reached out to him through a mutual friend that worked for him, Jalen Johnson, who's now a councilman down in Albany, Georgia. And Jalen worked for him, and he got me in contact with Congressman Byron Donalds, and had the opportunity to speak with him. And he talked about the district after the 2020 election and saw what the results were. And he said, well, Chris, take a look at the precinct data. That may tell a completely different story. So he was the one who kind of fed that to me to take a look and dig down deep to see how we did. And if it wasn't for him, of course, it's disgruntled after you lose an election. It's knowing the uphill climb that we have. But when we took a look at the data, the precinct data, and saw that we flipped 9 precincts. We flipped Accokeek and got a plus 13%. We flipped the district here in Leonardtown and got a plus 23% gain compared to the election before. And all throughout Prince George's County, we saw 12, 13, 15% gains throughout the county. So it's not time to give up. And again, now, like you said, the climate right now is so much easier than it was back in 2020. The conversations I've had, like I said, with the gentleman up in Bowie when I was at the Food Wine Music Festival, it's night and day. People care so much more now about the kitchen table issues, what's going to put food on their table. Inflation is hurting them greatly, and unfortunately it's getting worse in this administration. But kind of going back here to wrap things up real quick. I know I was talking about nuclear power being energy independent to get to it again. The importance of nuclear energy, investing in that here locally, because right now the Biden administration has completely shut everything off. They're tapping into our reserves, but meanwhile they're empowering China and Russia right now. So geopolitically, we don't want China and Russia to be the only ones who have a monopoly in the nuclear power industry. We need to bring that back here and foster that and foster that innovative growth here. But also, too, talking about the Green New Deal, look what you do now with nuclear, too. You have small modular devices that you can have as well. And look at the land use. It's a fraction of the size of what all the solar fields and the wind does. Now, wind and solar should accompany it, but it shouldn't be the end-all be-all, as we saw with issues down in Texas last year. And as you said, to secure the border, I talked about that earlier as well, but together, I think it's very important for us moving forward here in 2022. I'm very gracious for your support. Thank you all for coming here tonight as well, but we're not done. We're not done with freedom. We're not done with America at all. And just like I said earlier on, the road is not always going to be easy. It's not going to be pretty, just like as I experienced as a youth and even since. But for us to be empowered to decide for ourselves how to navigate our own paths, not with interference from government overreach, but it's with hard work, drive, passion, and emphasis on that faith, family, freedom, that nothing's impossible. So with 2022, the comeback is going to be greater than the setback. And again, I had to say to Congressman Donalds that help's going to be on the way for him. So he's got many more candidates that's going to help him out here in 2022, and it's from a lot of liberty-loving individuals like myself. We're not cookie-cutter politicians. We're unbought. We're unpaid for it. I don't have lobbyist obligations. We're not cookie-cutter politicians. We're patriots who care for our country, care for our community. So I'm never going to stop fighting for freedom, our constitutional rights, fiscal responsibility, in making sure we have limited government that puts America, and most importantly, Americans first, back on the map for this country in 2022. So again, thank you all so much for coming out tonight. I appreciate your support. Any help you all can do, I really appreciate as well. And let's go win here in 2022. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you everyone to come out tonight. We really appreciate your support. And the mic's on now. Thank you everyone so much for your support. We want to give special thanks to Ms. Kim Klasick and Congressman Donald and his team. If y'all would like a picture with Kim and Chris, we're going to start a line over by the photo booth, and we also have campaign t-shirts for sale in the lobby. And thank you again all for coming.